should also probably announce the stream. Oh, I don't have permission to do that anymore. Alright, well.
Awkward. Going to load up the first replay, make sure I don't have any problems there.
Got a Twitter notification that GetRECt just went live, so that's cool. Oh, I actually can't get to... Oh well, it'll just be scuffed, whatever. Can't get to the title change, so...
Unlucky. I can't get my Ruffle files to play.
That would also be a problem.
Yeah. I'll make sure, like sanity check, I'm making sure I'm not doing anything wrong. This is the current patch shortcut for League of Legends on my desktop that I'm dragging them onto.
That'll try to launch them with the client, which is unfortunate. So the place is it's C Riot Games League of Legends game, and then the executable that's in that.
Okay, I'll just pull up a second file explorer then. C Riot Games League of Legends. Client.exe. No, I don't want you to pin to the top of the screen. Okay, so what's the file path again?
C Riot Games League of Legends game.
Ah, they even have different icons. Fantastic. Let's see if that runs. Critical error has occurred. Process must be terminated. That's never.
That sounds fine to me.
Do the Ruffle files have to be saved in a specific location?
Not typically. Just on your hard drive. I usually drag him to the folder that the game's in. I don't know if that actually helps or does anything. But...
I'm gonna try that. Why not? I'm also gonna close my client. I don't know if it can be running or not. Yep, if closing the client or moving them to the folder helped, I did both and it runs. So
okay.
We take those.
Alright. Hopefully my stream is okay. Okay, it looks like that might have just been...
Okay, let's make it so my master volume doesn't blow my eardrums out.
Oh yeah, that's also a thing. Also it defaults to full screen, which is interesting.
Fantastic.
So if you want it to be windowed or borderless, you have to change that as well. Oh, so in positive news, it looks like it was Chrome that was making my stream shit the bed. So that's good.
Damn it, Chrome. Okay, let's rearrange the scoreboard.
Alright.
So all of that works. Alright.
Cool. I'm gonna play an intro video and then we'll start, I guess.
Nice.
Alright, so welcome everybody officially to the Platinum quarterfinal stream. This is the fourth quarterfinal, determining our last player that's going to move into our semifinal and finals weekend. My name is Meristematic. With me today is Neo, aka Legion, aka Oath, aka mechanically dog shit, and you are macro is terrible, bro. And you had been clowned. Yeah, okay.
Excited to be on the stream. I'm looking forward to this match. It should be good.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested, especially because we haven't seen these quarterfinals cross-conference play. Both of these teams have looked very strong in their respective conferences, but curious to see how they'll stack up against one another today.
Definitely a notable change, specifically for the quarterfinals, is that the former ADC for CFLOW, Chimmy, has moved into the jungle, and they have Kilgar playing ADC for them.
Yeah, so a little bit of a wrinkle coming into quarterfinals. We'll see how their synergy looks, or maybe if it even catches Pigs off guard. So...
I do know that that Kilgar has subbed for them before. I don't know how much he's played or practiced with the team, but we'll see how much it affects them.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into game then. Game number 1 of this best of 3 series, and if you're ready, I'll count us down.
Sure.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. And spawning into the blue side of the rift, wearing the blue health bars for this game will be CFLOW. In the top side, UNSC playing Mordekaiser. In the jungle, Chimmy on Olaf, Bomb Voyage on Vel'Koz in the mid lane, and Kilgar and Skylar Toon in the bottom lane playing Misfortune and Morgana.
And over here on the red side, we've got Pigs. You get OG the Arbiter up in the top lane on Gnar, Rembones in the jungle playing Jarvan the Fourth, Smooths in the mid lane on Zed, and X-Craze and Mark Hames in the bot lane playing Syndra and Zillion.
So I always like the wrinkle of adding Syndra into that bot lane and allowing Smooths to play that AD mid laner. It helps balance that damage just a little bit, and then we'll see how proficient X-Craze is on the mage. But we'll see CFLOW find Rembones just peeking a little bit. It'll get the flash out of him at level 1, and with the Olaf versus Jarvan matchup, he might look to get a little bit aggressive into the enemy jungle now.
I would expect so, definitely, especially with that flash being down. Uh, and the fact that realistically, unless he gets poked out super hard, Bon Voyage should have priority in mid, at least for the first couple of levels, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I think unless something super tragic happens where Smooths gets a good trade with his Shadow or something at level 3, he should definitely have the shove at least for the first 2 levels.
It is interesting. I know Skylar Toon likes playing a lot of Zillion. It's his main champion. So the fact that Markings has taken it away and chosen to run a double AP bot lane, uh, could be interesting. I think it'll be a little bit less interesting just because there's a Morgana on the other side, but
Yeah,
the takeaway is really interesting.
yeah, Morgana kind of that champion that just invalidates what you want to do and also has the binding. Just a just a great all-around champ.
Yeah, been a top tier support since her inception. Probably will be a top tier support for the rest of League of Legends, in my opinion at least, unless something drastic gets changed.
Yeah, I'm always curious because Morgana is always like 100% pick ban in like gold and platinum and falls off a little bit in our diamond leagues. And then like in pro play, it's always kind of a niche fringe pick that you can do every once in a while, but isn't applicable to every situation. So it's kind of interesting, like the skill difference making that presence so much different.
Yeah, I think if I had to warrant a guess why it's more of a fringe pick in the higher elo is that with the correct positioning, Black Shield becomes less valuable because you shouldn't be getting caught out. It's kind of a save the ADC card, and for most high elo games, Tom Kench just fulfills that role better.
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested. I have this really long drive to work, so I listen to a lot of podcasts. So Jat was talking on his podcast about how the support meta right now is kind of dictated by can you face check in order to ward because your jungler doesn't have like the tracker's knife available to him. So that's kind of why he thinks we're seeing a lot of tank supports and no like mages or enchanters is sort of a counter pick even, just because that ability to face check is so valuable.
And as a response to that and the tank meta, the buff coming into Blade of the Ruined King, and the fact that it kind of just wasn't a very good item before that, has shifted the meta once again to back to ADCs who are capable of building it, or ADCs who don't need to build it to do damage.
Yeah, our junglers both kind of checking out the respective red sides. It looks like Chimmy's going to be a little bit later to this, and he might get caught by Rembones here. But neither jungler's done a whole lot. We did see a little exchange up in the top lane that UNSC seemed to get a little bit better of, but you can see they're both still full health, no summoners blown.
And I think before, either he walked over a ward or Smooths just knew that was likely to happen because he moved before Rembones actually saw Chimmy there on the map. So Chimmy, good that he did not get caught at the Raptors camp. I think Rembones will be able to pick up most of them.
Yeah, so Rembones actually went in and counter jungled, I believe, the enemy Raptors, so he'll get a camp advantage out of being able to defend his own Raptor camp. Or no, he just saw that it was down because it just respawned. So it's just entirely even so far for our junglers, which means that Chimmy hasn't been able to really punish that flash, and you can see that that's about to come back up for Rembones now.
And that's a really good thing for the Jarvan specifically. The early matchup into Olaf sucks a lot, so the closer you can get, or the closer you can stay to Jarvan, or to Olaf as Jarvan means your mid game is not going to be very bad.
Yeah, it seems like Nar's been having some connection problems as well. Luckily, because um, we're on a replay, we don't get the pauses that are inevitably happening here. But it's causing him to fall just a little bit behind this Mordekaiser in lane. Normally, you'd expect Nar to pick up at least his fair share of farm, but he's down 15 CS already.
Yeah, the range matchup into Mordekaiser, we haven't gotten to see a lot of it on camera, but it should be favoring Gnar more than it seems like it is currently. UNSC, I think, oh no, he didn't get hit by it. Good fancy footwork from Rimbones there.
Yeah,
But UNSC first buying the Sork pin boot straight up.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. It'll allow him to try to gap close a little bit better, especially until Gnar gets his boots done. but I don't know that that's the most valuable first thing that you can grab. But it'll
I
at
think
least help negate some of the annoyance of having to deal with the range lane.
Yeah, I think delaying your 1/2 item power spike with Leandries or Rylai's, depending on which one you favor more, uh, could be detrimental, but if it allows him to get more pressure onto an already behind Gnar, it might be worth it.
Yeah, and Rumbones has been pretty aggressive checking out Chimmy's jungle, seeing what camps are available, and also really good of him to keep his EQ up because you cannot fight an Olaf at this point. Olaf just straight wins pretty much any 1v1 against an enemy jungler, but he's at least keeping tabs on Chimmy, making sure that that Olaf can't get anything significant done, and we've hit this stalemate where now Chimmy's kind of attempting his first gank up here in the alcove and top lane.
An interesting setup for an interesting gank. You wouldn't really expect to gank for the shoved in Mordekaiser into a matchup where you likely don't blow summoners off of Gnar, because he does have that natural distance being ranged and the hop.
Oh, the Death Mark coming down onto Bon Voyage takes him super low, burns both of the summoner spells, and smooths, hits level 6 on the Zed and shows why he picked that in the first place. Almost gets the assassination on Bon Voyage, but that ult will be up way sooner than the summoner spells will. Stun lands onto Kilgar in the bottom lane, but Black Shield will walk that out. Oh, Dark Binding lands onto Mark Hames. He's getting took pretty low. Ignite comes down, flash forward from X-Craze as he throws the Unleashed Power in, but nobody's died. It's just a couple more summoners exchanged as X-Craze's flash and Kilgar's heal both are expended.
Yeah, along with the Ignite from Skylar Toon, that means the non-movement based combat summoners for the bot lane are down just for X-Craze's flash and ult. But I think if he hadn't gone that aggressive, Mark Hames probably would have died, or at least had to burn flash.
Yeah, another Dark Binding land. Skylar Toon's been hitting a pretty decent percentage of the ones that he's thrown so far, so good to see his accuracy on the Morgana so far. And you can see just the annoyance of this lane. If you can't hit the claw, there's just nothing you can do as Mordekaiser. You just kind of continue to exist.
Yeah, and it looks like we'll see our first venture towards the dragon here from Pigs.
This is going to be challenged. Chimmy flashes in. The dragon goes over to Pigs, but Chimmy flashes for the backline. They're going to catch Rimbones. He'll flash over the wall, but Kilgar just layering down the auto attacks. It's first blood for CFLOW.
A good catch. They had the priority on the dragon. They didn't do a fantastic job clearing out all of the vision, so obviously CFLOW knew that it got started, and instead of going for the steal, Jimmy goes for the kills and the push advantage.
Yeah, so they'll grab the kill in exchange for the Ocean Dragon, and a lot of things used. The most important of which I think is UNSC's teleport, because it's going to immediately alleviate that pressure in the top lane. And now OG the Arbiter is up ahead in CS on UNSC. He'll equal it out more or less with this wave that's shoved in, but it just got rid of all of that pressure that was on Gnar and dissipated it because he had to teleport into that dragon, and he got nothing for it.
Yeah, and Gnar had already equalized the CS. A good job from him playing passive, staying alive in the range matchup, which is a weird thing to say because it's ranged into melee, but now that he's gone back finally and picked up Phage along with Kindle Gem, this lane should start looking the way a ranged into melee matchup usually looks in the top lane.
Yeah, and also worth noting the CS discrepancy in bot lane. X-Craze doing a fantastic job on the Syndra, getting his farm on, has the 20 CS advantage, although Kilgar picking up the first blood probably equalizes that gold. Yeah, it's almost dead even. But the CS advantage keeping the game completely even at this point.
Yeah, dead even split, one kill.
Rembones comes in, lands the Jarvan Jacuzzi, and they know that the flash is down. This should be a dead spaghetti monster, and he will go down to the auto attack from Rembones.
Yeah, that's a good gank right there. I mean, you could argue that Bon Voyage should have been playing back a little bit further, but honestly, that EQ combo range just sometimes catches you off guard.
Yeah, and it's so difficult to play without your flash as the mid laner, an immobile mid laner against a Jarvan. It just means that you cannot step up at all, or you risk getting put into the Jacuzzi, and it's a little too hot in there. Maybe an attempted dive here from Rembones in the bottom lane. Double stun does land onto Kilgar. A lot of damage being done. The Unleashed Power comes through, and one more auto as Markhames uses the Chrono Shift. But Rembones is caught by the Soul Shackle in tower range. It'll exchange 1-for-1.
Does also burn Markhames' ult, but, well, frankly, it's Zillion. That'll be back up. Give it 10 seconds or so.
Chimmy starts to try to solo out the dragon, but OG the Arbiter and Smooths both in the area. They'll chunk him down, and now UNSC in a little bit of trouble. He takes Smooths to the Shadow Realm, and will try to subject him to the Sex Dungeon. It's going to take him low, and now the collapse from Bon Voyage as he lands the Death Laser. It's 1 kill for CFLOW. Can USC actually track down OG the Arbiter? He's so fast the Flash Q will finish him off, though. And a little bit greedy there from Chimmy, but his team collapses and picks up the extra kill at the end of the play.
Yeah, the initial idea from Chimmy's pretty good. He sees Rembones die in the bot lane. He knows he's not going to be topside for at least the remainder of his death timer plus 10 seconds or so. And the fact that he had both of his solo laners there to collapse means that CFLOW and specifically UNSC come out on top in that trade.
Yeah, and Smooths, I think he has his ult and his flash available. He can at least buy a little bit more time inside of the Death Realm. I don't know that that's the optimal play, but he does die with both of those abilities up.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate there. Maybe he just called it as a loss and decided to keep the cooldowns, but I think there was a potential for stalling or outplay there.
Yeah, now Kilgar and Skylar Toon as well as Chimmy headed around sweeping out some vision. Dragon about to spawn here in about 45 seconds. It's a Cloud Dragon, which means that we'll get either the Infernal or the Mountain Rift, which both, pretty high quality souls for the capture in this game.
Yeah, definitely very very important souls for either team. And there was a caster moment recently on one of the LCS streams that we see a flash away from X-Craze there that he wasn't going to say that Dragon Souls were OP, but Dragon Souls were OP. I don't remember exactly who it was that said that, but basically any soul is good in some way for any team. And more often than not, the team that does end up stalling out the game long enough and getting soul has such a higher percentage chance of winning.
Rembones is gonna face check in, but it looks like CFLOW not wanting the fight immediately.
I think if possible, CFLOW wants to stall out for UNSC's teleport. It is almost up. He has gone on to OG the Arbiter. They're in the Death Realm now.
Yeah, the little hop away though, and now he's getting kited up. The Gnar experience about to turn Mega. He'll get that little bit of health back, but nothing exchanged. It'll be the Dragon going the way of Pigs as well, and the Mountain Drake, well, the Mountain Rift, excuse me, will transform as we get in. So really interesting exchange up in the top lane, and we see that neither one really has a significant advantage over the other.
Yeah, UNSC going forward aggressively with the Death Realm so that OG the Arbiter couldn't teleport in, but Pigs already had the position and the vision advantage on Dragon, so they just get to take it without really any contest.
Yeah, Smooths goes in, gets a little bit of the chunk. He's got his Duskblade of Drakthar finished up, which is still one of the edgiest but also dumbest names in the entire game. And so he'll be able to go a little bit more aggressive onto Bon Voyage if he wants to, especially with that stopwatch blown, but does have the barrier and the flash back up.
Yeah, and we see Bon Voyage itemizing specifically for the Zed and slightly, to a lesser extent, the Jarvan matchup by picking up the Arm Guard early. You do still want to finish your early item one source of damage before you finish Zhonya's, so he'll probably be sitting on that for a while, but it's pretty much a must-buy item into the Zed.
Yeah, and the stream is so early because I exist early, and also so that we can transition you directly into the LCS semifinal is basically the goal.
Yeah, streaming during the LCS semifinal is typically considered a bad move if you're the smaller stream.
Yeah, we're already kind of going up against the G2 Mad Lions, but there's really no better time this weekend to do it, so At least you'll get the LEC final tomorrow without your GetRECt interruption. Um, so as we sort of reset here on the map, the Rift Herald hasn't even been a point of contention. I guess we did see the one fight around it, but we haven't seen one Shelly taken. We won't see the second one either. As Mark Hames goes in, he's going to try to chain the bombs, but the Chrono Shift comes out. Doesn't want to expend that. I don't care either way, I guess, but Mark Hames will walk away. Doesn't even have to burn his flash or exhaust, just that Chrono Shift.
I don't think it matters specifically. If anything, having the Chrono Shift actually pop means Mark Hames could have maybe stayed on the map with how much health it gives you, but he probably would have reset after that either way to get more wards. So it doesn't particularly matter. It's ult for ult, and you know, going ult for ult with Zilean is almost always in Zilean's favor because it's up so damn often.
Yeah, that ability feels like it doesn't have much of a cooldown, although it's actually shorter than the Olaf cooldown right now. Bon Voyage gets put into the Jarvan Jacuzzi again. Teleport going to come in as well as the bullet time. They're going to try to turn this as Smooth's just doing a ton of damage to Bon Voyage. Won't take it. Oh, he does with the extra E. But now UNSC caught in no man's land, gets stunned up by X-Craze as everybody starts to collapse in the mid lane. And the CFLOW top laner will go down as well. OG, the Arbiter, trying to land the boomerangs onto Chimmy. Again, he has no ult, so if he gets caught, that would be pretty devastating. Another boomerang lands, but that'll just clear out. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of Pigs.
Yeah, kind of unfortunate there at the back end of that fight. UNSC uses the ult on Smooths as he's basically about to die, effectively wasting it. UNSC would have died regardless, I'm almost positive, but there's a chance he could have ulted a different member of Pigs and gotten a second kill, making the trade even.
Yeah, now the Herald started up. This doesn't have a whole lot of value right now, as turret plates are long gone. Might help break the first tower, I guess. They'll go in as Chimmy goes into the Ragnarok. He gets the smite down, but the Herald will go over to Pigs. That was a really weird little fight. Everybody just throwing abilities across the no man's land, and Chimmy's the only one who tries to commit, but not able to get that smite. But now Deathmark is back up as Bon Voyage takes a couple of spears, dodges out the E. Smooth's still using the fancy feet. He'll get away from Kilgar as well, but trade's looking a little bit in favor of CFLOW right now, although UNSC in a lot of trouble. The flash forward for the unleashed power from X-Craze. So as I say that, I eat my words, and Pigs picks up the kill in the top lane.
Yeah, I like the follow-up question mark pings coming out from Rembones there. I'm not quite sure what UNSC thought was happening there, but it wasn't what was actually happening, as we'll see the summoner and the ult expended for the kill.
Yeah, so we have, important to note, now we have a Zanya's Hourglass finished on Bon Voyage and another one finished on Skylar too, and effectively getting rid of 2 targets for Smooth's Deathmark, so that only leaves 3 people that he could potentially kill, and even UNSC might be a little bit outside of his range with the amount of health that he has. So our Zed checkup looks like he's going to either need to outplay or he's starting to lose the targets that would be reliable for him normally.
Yeah, assuming Kilgar doesn't wildly misposition, it would be very difficult for Smooths to go for him specifically without full committing and trading 1-for-1. Yeah, I mean, that's it. At a certain point in the game, Zed, it's actually worth for him to do that in a team fight, but during the mid game, it does limit his options pretty heavily.
Yeah, the Deathmark does have a very slightly shorter cooldown than Zanya's at this point, so you can kind of abuse that, but it's very difficult. It's a pretty tight window right now at the level 11 ult. So we have our first sort of intermediate lead of the game, with Pigs having about a 2,000 gold lead, and they'll catch Kilgar with a stun over the wall. Good dodge by X-Craze, although he's limiting his own movement speed by holding that orb.
Yeah, obviously the next point of contention, whew, that was close. The next point of contention will likely be around the top side of the map. They will drop the Herald here with the chunk out on Kilgar. I don't see this turret standing for much longer. It's already well below the kill threshold.
Yeah, I really like this use of Shelly. If you get the if you get the Herald after turret plating, you basically need to break a tower with it in order to make your investment worth it. And they do. They get the first tower of the game, and it's the mid turret, which is super important. It'll allow access to the jungle. And ult from Bon Voyage just to clear out the Rift Herald. Smooths is in a dangerous position here, pretending he's a wolf. He's going to find Chimmy here. Deathmark comes down. This is a relatively close fight, but it should go the way... Oh, no! Chimmy's going to equalize. It's the 1-for-1. And now UNSC has found Mark Hames into the Death Realm. The Chrono Shift comes out, but the rest of CFLOW should collapse. Oh, a good flash over the thick part of the wall, and he's got the movement speed out to safety. So Mark Hames, with the aggressive positioning, will get away from the Death Realm.
Yeah, moving up slightly for Vision, slightly to see if there was any way he could help with Smooth's 1v1 with Chimmy, but... honestly, when Chimmy walked in at the health that he was at, I totally expected him to just die. The fact that he's able to get Smooths there is really good for CFLOW. It keeps the gold a little bit more even though there is a advantage coming out from the 2 towers that they have, and honestly, the kind of surprising farm lead in the bot lane. An extra 50 CS up, and equal kills for X-Grays over Kilgar here.
Yeah, and it feels like we haven't even seen X-Grays and Mark Hames have that much significant pressure. Like it's not Rembones camping down there causing them to miss waves or anything like that. It's just been a straight feels like X-Grays is clicking on the minions a little bit better. Big trades here, a lot of stopwatches, a lot of Zhonya's being burned. X-Grays will finish off the kill onto Skylartoon, and now Chimmy launches forward with Cinder taken low. Some ability out of that combo is going to land, and they do take out X-Craze.
The League of Stopwatch experience. Did I count 3 or 4? I think it was 3. And that's kind of how it goes. Once you pass the 14-minute mark, the first big fight where you feel like using Stopwatch is actually going to be helpful, pretty much all of them get burned.
So that's just the extra stopwatch from Mark Hames that was burned. We do have the Zhonya's Hourglass now finished for X-Craze, so we've got 4 on the map currently. So we'll continue to see people go golden for the foreseeable future as OG the Arbiter takes down the top lane solo, which puts a little bit more gold in their pocket. Again, it's about a 2,500 gold lead, so we're not seeing that extend significantly, but the Earth Soul, Mountain Soul is coming up here in 50 seconds for Pigs. So we'll need to see CFLOW make a big play around this dragon, or they'll risk giving over that big shield to Pigs Might Fly.
Yeah, and when you're playing a mid lane, I don't want to say artillery, because Xerath is like the only artillery in my opinion, but Vel'Koz is pretty close. Mountain Soul is a nightmare for that champion.
Yeah, and you'll get the extra resistances and effective health, I guess, on Gnar and Jarvan specifically. It's going to be very difficult to chunk through that front line as UNSC trying to take Smooth into the Death Realm, but he dodges it with the Death Mark. He'll come back in. He'll finish off the 1v1 and kill Mord in his own ult. Teleport coming in from OG the Arbiter. We'll see if he can find anything. Big chunk down onto Rembones as the dragon spawns, but Kilgar in trouble as he'll get autoed down. The Gnar experience again coming through. Forces the flashback over the wall, but CFLOW hanging around. They need to try to steal. Smooth gets caught by the Dark Binding. He'll be able to shadow out to safety just barely, but this dragon's taken super low. That will be the Mountain Soul, I'm assuming, unless there's a steal here from Chimmy. Axe goes down. That's not going to happen. Soul goes to Pigs Might Fly in exchange for X-Craze's life, although... no, that was the dragon. Excuse me. Sorry. Soul for X-Craze is a pretty fair trade, honestly.
Absolutely. I'd take that trade any day of the week. And as we were watching the 1v1 between Smooths and UNSC, Chimmy actually blew everything plus the kitchen sink trying to kill X-Craze.
Yeah, Rembones gets caught as they rotate for the tower. He's resurrecting with the Zillion ult. Smooths has an extra Zillion bomb on him. Will he go down? Looks like he's going to survive just barely. So they lose the mid tower in exchange. Kind of it's the run of that play. They'll lose Chimmy as well. Kilgar gets the bottom tower, everything kind of falling. So as we kind of take scope, it'll be an extra kill and the Mountain Soul for Pigs Might Fly, and then you get 2 towers if you're CFLOW to try to equal that out. So the gold lead actually really doesn't move, but you have to feel like the power is just tipping a little bit in favor of pigs.
Yeah, and I call this, or I like to call this the mid-game to late-game Zillion effect. X-Rays would have died to Chimmy's all-in the dragon fight, and then there would have been another death, I think, on Rimbones had the Resurrect not come through. So really, it comes down to CFLOW not really playing around that pick in the mid game specifically. They're going for things that would work if Zillion wasn't on the enemy team.
Yeah, double bomb expended there will burn the Ragnarok from Chimmy, so another kind of important cooldown. We're not seeing this Olaf be particularly effective this game. He's been having a lot of trouble getting things done.
Yeah, and the few fights that he has been in, have been with targets that are capable of 1v1ing him, so he either trades with them or the other times he goes in and he gets stuffed out by Zillion, or they wait out his ultimate and then
UNSC gets caught in the Jarvan Jacuzzi, the Death Laser coming over doing a lot of damage, and now the bullet time just kind of ripping through a couple of members. OG the Arbiter taken pretty low. Chrono Shift does save Markhames in the middle of the fight, but Gnar goes down. Big stun comes out from the Syndra as Rembones flashes back towards safety. It's a double kill for Syndra, and Smooths comes in. He'll clean it up. 2 and 2. Who's going to get the triple kill here as Bon Voyage falls? It's not going to be either of them. Rembones takes it. It's the Bud Light ace. I can't say that with a straight face. I'm sorry. It's the ace for Pigs Might Fly, and that should be the Baron as well.
Yeah, it likely will. They only lose OG the Arbiter there. Markhames being the one who's ulted. I think that's the second or third time I've seen UNSC go for that. He just gets his ult traded for the Zillion ult. It comes back up way before UNSC's ult does, and Markhames just effectively nullifies the fact that that CFLOW has a Mordekaiser.
Yeah, so Baron goes over to Pigs. I would just be a terrible LCS player. I'd have to laugh at like every single sponsorship that I'd have to try to do, and I don't think that they appreciate that necessarily. Anyway, we'll reset. Where do you want to see Pigs go with this Baron?
I think Pigs are fairly well set up for a 1-3-1 here. OG the Arbiter doesn't really have any issues with either of the solo laners for CFLOW, and while Zed is a little bit more vulnerable, he definitely has a way harder time getting locked down. So I think the lane assignment should be pretty standard here, actually.
Yeah, and as if hearing you 3 days in the past, they'll go ahead and set up with that 1-3-1. OG the Arbiter's teleport about up as well, so he'll have that ability to collapse. They're going to potentially draw MF to the bottom lane. That seems really dangerous if Kilgar wants to stay there, but Smooth's checking out the jungle, getting some deep vision. I really like this setup so far from Pigs. This looks very clean. They'll catch Chimmy off on the side, force that Ragnarok out again, so this will be another fight potentially where Chimmy just doesn't have that Ragnarok available.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure what CFLOW's plan is here with this type of positioning.
Oh, stun lands onto Skylar Toon. More auto attacks lacing forward. The stopwatch forced. And Chimmy gets chunked down. The damage from X-Craze's unleashed power. They'll take the tower. They'll take the kill. And now Pigs goes forward. Another big stun lands onto Bon Voyage. It'll force the stopwatch out of him as Kilgar just launches in with the bullet time, but it's only tickling and he'll fall as well. Markhames was just tanking the tower in the backside, so Bon Voyage able to equalize 2 for 2. Ult coming down into the bottom side, maybe a little bit of an overextension from Pigs, but now the stun from OG the Arbiter. He'll give him the Gnar show and X-Craze cleans it up.
Yeah, and
Smooths maybe looking for one more. Deathmark comes through. Yeah, Bon Voyage is dead.
Oof. Yeah, I was about to mention it before before the fight actually broke out. I'm not really sure what UNSC was doing that whole time as the only pseudo frontline for his team, given that how quickly we saw Chimmy get taken down by X-Craze. They shouldn't have been cheating Kilgar to the bot side for wave clear, and UNSC should have definitely actually been in the mid lane when that tower was going down, or they just give up the inner tower entirely and move everybody back to the inhibitor. But him being in the bot side jungle, looking for a potential flank. I don't think you want to engage that ever, really.
Yeah, and it's just so difficult. We're seeing Bomb Voyage and Kilgar actually get pretty good value out of their abilities that they've been using, but because the front line's falling so fast, it's leaving just the straight carry versus carries at the end of everything, and they lose. Zed
Yeah.
Syndra just destroys MF Vel'Koz without those ults available. But now Elder Dragon, the big target, stun over the wall onto Chimmy as UNSC flies in. He has that extra home guard from the patch available. Rembone's looking for Chimmy. They'll put him into the jacuzzi. It'll force the flash out as UNSC's on the top side of the map. Chimmy's in a lot of trouble, but he has the Ragnarok still available. The Death Laser is so good. It's going to trade 2 for 2. And that felt like a super good trade for CFLOW, but it's still only 2 for 2 at the end of that. And the Deathmark's still available. Skylar Toon just goes ahead and Zanya's up, but that's only going to buy a little bit of time before his... No, he's out. Never mind. I shouldn't assume things,
It's a
I guess.
really quality 2 for 2, but their base is currently being taken. It just feels like it's a little too late to really make a huge impact in this game. In fact, yeah, Pigs is actually going to abandon the Elder Dragon and just look to end.
Yeah, Smooth's in onto Kilgar. They'll take him down. X-Craze with a second kill. Deathmark is back up, apparently. That'll get another one as Bomb Voyage forced to stopwatch under the tower, but that'll just confirm his deaths. And now with the Chrono Shift on Smooths, he'll tank up the tower for a little bit of celebration. One Nexus turret falls, but Chimmy and UNSC back available. This end is going to be super weird as Smooths gets taken into the Death Realm. That's 1,000 gold shutdown for UNSC. It's probably too little too late now as he's getting kited out. Teleport in from OG the Arbiter. Another stopwatch from UNSC as he'll get double bombed straight out of that stopwatch. And X-Craze is godlike, 10 and 2 on the Syndra. They'll stun up Chimmy as he's just trying to cut the minions in half. And the Nexus will fall for game number 1 as Pix might fly, move on to match point.
They have a really clean game coming out there from Pigs Might Fly. They had really good objective control. They played their lane assignments correctly. They played their comp really well, actually, which is kind of interesting. I think allowing Smooths to take the AD mid laner and seeing the performance from X-Craze 10, 2, and 7 on the Syndra, I would like to see a draft adaptation after that game from CFLOW. I don't think they were prepared for this.
Yeah, it feels like CFLOW has some work to do in between games number 1 and 2. Um, and yeah, just a really stellar performance from both of the carries. I thought Rembones had a very good game on the Jarvan as well. It felt like he had a lot of impact, especially into a bad jungle matchup against Olaf, and especially considering he had his flash bone at level 1 in that jungle matchup.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the Olaf could have been much more effective than it was. Um, and especially with the number, I actually think in the early game Rimbones invaded Chimmy more than Chimmy invaded Rimbones, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, so back to the drawing board for CFLOW as we'll head into game number 2 here in just a couple minutes. Thanks for watching. We'll be right back with game number 2. This is going to be awkward because I don't have any music queued up because Chrome just ate all of my RAM apparently. So
I can tell I'm super rusty. I'm using so many vocal crutches.
yeah, same. Oh, they don't switch sides. That's kind of weird. Pigs was the 2 seed, correct?
Um, I couldn't tell you, to be perfectly honest.
CFLOW's 3. I'm pretty sure that's right. Someone in the chat will probably correct me if that's wrong. Like, I could check, but I'd have to open Chrome, because I apparently don't have access to Platinum Chat either. Pepe hands.
Pepe hands.
Moving accesses, because I'm not an admin. Who does that? How dare they make a completely normal and rational decision? Alright, do you want to go for game 2?
Yeah, I'm good.
Alright. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen. Not that you went anywhere. This will be game 2 between Pigs Might Fly and CFLOW. In game number 1, we saw Pigs have a pretty clean performance overall, able to take that game, specifically off the back of X-Craze and Smooths, both popping off. And now we'll see what our adaptations were for game number 2. If you're ready, we'll go ahead and count it down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. So returning to the bottom side of the rift this game is going to be CFLOW, with Chimmy in the top lane playing Poppy, UNSC in the jungle on... I'll repeat that. Chimmy is rotating up to the top lane now to play Poppy, UNSC in the jungle on Sejuani, Bomb Voyage in mid playing Orianna, and Kilgar and Skylar Toon on Senna and Galio.
And over on the red side, we've got Pigs Might Fly, OG the Arbiter up in the top
This
lane
is
on
game
Shen.
3, by the way. Well, that means that your captain labeled them wrong. All right.
Aha.
Cool.
Do we want to...
Yeah, I quit already.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Spoilers.
I literally triple checked to make sure that these were in the correct order. So, unfortunately, match history doesn't load, so I couldn't like quadra check and like see which champions were picked in which game. But I did double check that the numbers matched up for what order they were put in. So, everybody flame one of the captains from this series, or both of them.
Definitely just flame both of them. Absolutely.
Okay, if you're watching the stream, is this the correct game number 2? I mean, I know you're watching. Chimmy or Smooth. I mean, hopefully it is. This looks like a different game.
Definitely a different game.
Yes, okay. Cool. And again, they didn't change sides, so that means that both teams are just picking these sides, which is super interesting. All right. Do you have this game loaded up as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're good.
Okay. I need to back up to 0. Okay. And then in 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So repeat number 2 on the bottom side of the rift here. Wearing the blue health bars this game will be CFLOW. In the top lane, Chimmy is swapping up to the top lane, playing Dr. Mundo. UNSC in the jungle on the Jarvan. Bomb Voyage in mid, playing Diana. And Kilgar and Skylar Toon playing the Varus and Zillion.
And over on the red side, we've got Pigs Might Fly, OG the Arbiter, returns to the top lane playing Gnar. We've got Rembones in jungle on Zac, Smooths in the mid lane on Azir, and X-Grays and Mark Hames will be piloting Lucian and Yuumi respectively in the bot lane.
So we can see already a lot of adaptations in this draft with
Yep.
CFLOW able to get the Jarvan and the Zillion, which were picks that were taken away from them in game number 1. And also with Chimmy swapping up to the top lane, UNSC back to the jungle. Yeah, just a lot of different looks coming out of CFLOW. Do you think that this suits them a little bit better?
I do. I think UNSC is personally a better jungler than he is a top laner. And I think he's a better AD carry than he is either of those things. But those are my personal opinions as his friend. I did get forewarned that we might see this particular lane swap. Not on these exact champions, but I do think that it might work out for CFLOW specifically.
Yeah, and OG the Arbiter the only one returning on his champion from last game, which is kind of weird. He's got the Gnar, but with 9 out of 10 different champions really not choosing to try to run it back, or there was a lot of different things taken away in draft. It's very interesting to see this completely different look from Pigs after game number 1.
Yeah, and honestly, the same could be said of CFLOW. I mean, if we want to go lane by lane, we're playing an assassin in place of a long-range mage for Bon Voyage. Kilgar is playing a similarly immobile ADC, but with a little less movement speed. Skylar getting his Zillion is actually, I think, really important for CFLOW. It's definitely his most comfortable champion. And then Smooth's moving away from AD, X-Craze, and Markame's playing a completely different kind of lane.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how they'll adapt to the Yuumi and Lucian. Not my favorite Yuumi combo, but it can be a very good one. It's actually kind of strange. Markame's doesn't have that kind of traditional, like, bruiser that you're looking to empower with the Yuumi. And also doesn't have like the big AoE like you'll see with a Misfortune or something like that. So this feels like kind of a weird spot for Yuumi to be in.
I think, and this is kind of a hot take, as we see a gank come in from the mid lane. Smooths will jump away from that. I think it actually might be more for the Zac in the mid game. It's a combo with one of my friends who mains Zac that I've always wanted to try. The champion just basically becomes unkillable for a certain section of the game when a Yuumi's on him. So we might see that swap and let X-Craze play himself a little bit more. That may or may not come through, but Yuumi definitely has more options than just the AD carry, but not for the lane.
Yeah, and this lane is probably going to struggle quite a bit against the Varus and Zillion poke that'll come out. So we'll see how X-Craze and Markame's really adapt to that, or if they even have to. Maybe they'll just have Lane Kingdom again down here.
This jungle matchup is kind of interesting because the goal of both of these jungle champions is basically just to gank as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's also interesting after we saw last game with kind of a static early and mid game. So I'm curious to see if both of them will get out on the map a little bit earlier, maybe have a little bit more impact on that early game. Like, we didn't even see a Rift Herald taken until 17 minutes last game, so Dragons felt like basically it as far as our points of contention or even our ganks were concerned.
And speaking of, for the game having a Jarvan and an Olaf, two of the good early dragon takers, that dragon didn't come in until about 8 minutes 45 seconds, 9 minutes, something like that. So it would be nice to see both of the junglers get more involved earlier on in the game.
Yeah, and this will be interesting in the mid lane. This is kind of the opposite side. I don't want to say it's the opposite side of the matchup we saw, but we did see Smooths on the Zed with Bon Voyage and the Vel'Koz, and now we have the Assassin on Bon Voyage into more of a control mage style from Smooths, and we'll see which theory kind of comes out on top here.
Yeah, I do still, despite some slight meta shifts and a few changes, think that Diana is probably still in the top 3 mid laners in the game. I think after the rework, the slight ability shift that she took, that champion just became really, really good.
Yeah, and X-Craze is doing a fantastic job with the shorter range Zillion, able to get a small CS advantage. Got a second Doran's Blade just for a little bit of safety down here in the bot lane, and he has the boots as well. Gonna get aggressive onto Skylar. Exhaust, Flash being forced, more autos being laced in. Kilgar tanks the Ignite somehow. So all the summoners blown, but now on the top side, UNSC ganks OG the Arbiter, and he'll go down. It's first blood for Chimmy on the Dr. Mundo.
Yeah, really good job absorbing the pressure. I couldn't tell if Kilgar actually used the movement speed from the heal to walk as close to Skylar character model on purpose or not, but regardless, the Ignite did come down onto him instead of Skylar. Don't know if it would have killed necessarily, but it allows Skylar to stay in lane, which is important because, as you mentioned, X-Craze is back doing X-Craze things, getting a CS lead.
Yeah, Rimbones is here, hits the part of the Q, but can't launch him into anything. So gank unsuccessful, but spotted out by Skylar Toon as he continues to regen down here. And now with UNSC on the bottom side of the map, I'm curious if we'll see a counter gank or something set up here in the bottom side.
Yeah, it is possible. Currently, CFLOW has very, very limited vision. Basically just the back side of their lane, and that ward's about to expire. They have basically no river vision whatsoever.
Yeah, and Rembones is looking down at that dragon. I don't know if he's just sweeping it out. Looks like he is. But we can see at least both junglers getting out on the map a little bit earlier than they did last game. And right now we're in that sweet spot where nobody's got any vision left. A couple of wards about to come back up, but you can really make some devastating plays right around this timing in the game, with people not having backed in bottom lane.
Yeah, if you have some decent setup, they do know for sure that X-Grays does not have flash. Actually, there are no summoners in the bot lane, and they are playing really pushed up. I would like to see UNSC try to make something happen down here.
Ooh, a big chunk there from Skylar, or onto Skylar Toon, with the press the attack proc from X-Craze, and Bomb Voyage rotates down, it just finds a prowling projectile for his trouble, and he'll have to walk back to mid.
Yeah, and slight to moderate CS leads for all of the Pigs laners at this point. Support's not included. So it's going to be interesting because I think they actually also have the more effective mid-game comp, at least in terms of damage.
And Jimmy walking in, he's gonna eat the Gnar ultimate, but just get that that little exchange. He's got his ult available. Gonna go ahead and pop it immediately, and maybe look to chase him down with some well-placed cleavers. Already getting one attack. Flash forward, he'll get it. The Jimmy with the solo kill in the top lane.
Yeah, really, really patiently played by Chimmy. He baits out the Gnar ult, and he goes with his ult as soon as Mega Gnar expires. And I don't think OG the Arbiter was ready for that. It was just a straight up all in, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah, and CFLOW winning and winning more. They'll go ahead and pick up the Earth Dragon at 9 minutes, which will be the first of the game. And now maybe they'll find Rembones doing this Rift Herald. They're headed over there with full steam, and they will find Rembones awkwardly sitting here with the Herald at about 5,000 health, and that'll force the Elastic Slingshot over the wall. That means that there will be no contest available for Pigs Might Fly, and CFLOW picks up another big objective there with the Rift Herald.
Yeah, really good awareness knowing that Rimbones was going to go for that, and there's not really a way for Zac to contest that, especially with OG the Arbiter out of lane, so he just has to jump away and basically just give them a 3,000 health leash.
Yep, and we'll see where UNSC wants to go with that Rift Herald, but he's got plates available for another 4 minutes. It's going to be immediately mid as I'm talking about that, and they'll get a little bit extra gold onto Diana, although it's going to be contested as Ramones jumps in. Smooth shoves back UNSC. That'll be a kill. They did get the turret plates in exchange for the death, but that play went pretty wrong immediately as Rembones and Smooths collapse.
Yeah, unfortunate there on the backside of that. He actually uses the Q before the flag. Don't know if it would have saved him or not. Probably not. I actually would have liked to see them throw that Rift Herald down into the bot lane in sort of a setup play. Maybe even commit a Chimmy's teleport for it, because I think the longer you let Kilgar and Skylar Toon stay in his lane, the more they're going to get bullied out, and the harder it is to make up for that CS discrepancy. It's going to be X-Ray is going to drop the ult on Skylar Toon. He's just going to run away.
Yeah, and I don't claim to be the most knowledgeable about Diana builds, but the Rod build seems kind of interesting to me. Is that normal on Diana?
I prefer the Rod build personally, especially with the Conqueror. It's usually Rod into Nashers into whatever you feel is appropriate for the situation. There are a couple more glass cannon oriented options, but typically it allows you to stay in and get your Conqueror proc stacks up I actually, some adaptations that favor like super heavy AP damage, I prefer Wit's End um, as another attack speed item, but I see it fairly often.
Okay. Yeah, so the turret gold going directly into that Rod of Ages, basically. And Smooths. Oh, the flashy EQ, but he has the Shurima Shuffle back up. He just. Okay, that was a spectator glitch. He did flash out. UNSC will take him down with the Dragon Standard as Rimbones jumps in, misses the Q, so not going to be able to continue that exchange. It looked. I don't know if your spectator was the same. It looked kind of like
Oh
Smooths
no,
just walked out of the pit.
yeah, yeah, he definitely did, on my screen at least. But I saw the flash cooldown go off, so I could tell that that's what actually happened. And it is an exchange of both ults and 3 summoners for Smooth's ult and summoners, but it was right after the teleport, so it will be a while before he gets back in the lane. He's going to lose this wave. Rimbones is going to pick it up for him now.
Yeah, so at least that gold not going completely to waste, and Smooths continues with his 1 CS advantage, so he still have that in his back pocket. But we've seen UNSC now get a pretty aggressive twice around that mid lane, and both times that Emperor's Divide has proved very key for Smooths to try to turn that around. Not quite able to get that extra kill this time, but the first time definitely trading it. And maybe UNSC needs to be just a little bit more careful when he's going in, although Rembone's going to fly into bottom lane. Skylar June doesn't even get off his Chrono Shift. He just straight dies as Mark Hames picks up that kill.
Yeah, it's kind of weird the way UNS or the way CFLOW's bot lane is playing this matchup. Normally, as we see a
Rembones
dive
jumps
here,
forward. They have the final chapter being read as Rembones picks up the kill onto Kilgar. They won't finish off UNSC. A flash away from X-Craze as he flies through. Chimmy's should be able to get another one there as they'll force him into the Bloblets. A teleport from OG the Arbiter. Will they look to turn? X-Ray's still hanging around. Chimmy does finally finish off the Bloblets of Rembones. And kind of a very strange trade that happened down here in the bottom lane.
yeah, the dash forward from Lucian plus the speed from Yuumi makes for very effective pseudo engage. And if you hold it and just use the speed, you actually have the opportunity to spot dodge the Varus ultimate, as it were. So the consistent push and walk up that I've seen from CFLOW's bot lane is not particularly encouraging, because at no point, in my opinion, do they really win this matchup.
Yeah, and also kind of interesting, I felt like because of the teleport down from OG the Arbiter, it felt like they had the stronger members on the bottom side of the map, but the Dragon still goes over to CFLOW as they take down the Ocean Dragon, and we get the Infernal Rift popping out.
Yeah, after the bot lane play, Pigs Might Fly kind of just abandoned the area. They reset their bot lane. Rimbones moved up to the top. Smooths was clearing mid, and they kind of allow UNSC to just take the dragon for free. The second time he's really just soloed out dragon this game.
Yeah, so that'll put them 2 away now from that soul point. The Infernal Soul gonna be pretty big, especially if Kilgar gets a little bit more poke down with the piercing arrows. You can see the bombs start to pop a little bit more. You can see the Diana Q start to pop. Could be a very valuable addition for CFLOW.
Yeah, there is. Infernal Soul is probably my absolute favorite on Diana specifically, because if you just raw E instead of queuing first, you get a bunch of extra AoE damage coming through when your second ult pops, because assuming you're Eing straight into ult, the reset timer on the Infernal Dragon proc happens as your ult damage pops. So the more people you pull in, it is just devastating.
OG the Arbiter in a little bit of trouble, forces the flash away after the hop. He will get tracked down, although Rembones is here, gets a big knock-up. They'll save OG the Arbiter for the time being. Smooth's trying to collapse him, but Bon Voyage has the recollapse, and he'll take him out with the Q. Now Rembones in trouble. Doesn't get knocked up, but does get sucked back in by the Diana Vacuum. And in the bottom lane, Kilgar needs a blanket because he got cold. Smooths is in trouble. He's should die. No? He's gonna fancy feet out of this one somehow. Chimmy in pursuit. He goes where he pleases. 5 kills now on the Dr. Mundo.
Yeah, he is able to pick that one up on the backside. OG or the Arbiter had a really nicely timed flash, but he does get clipped by the Q from Diana there. A lot of trading favoring CFLOW up in the top side, and without a support in lane, Kilgar was just up too far once again, and it's really easy with this combo of champions to chase down a AD carry as immobile as Varus. You see Kilgar actually also expended the flash and still died.
Yeah, so we have this setup now. The top half of the map, super strong for CFLOW. Chimmy uh, just is a disgusting man on this Mundo right now at 5-0, and Bon Voyage and UNSC picking up their fair share of gold. But on the bottom side, you have X-Craze and Mark Hames doing pretty well for themselves, and we'll see if that bot lane strength can come through and carry Pigs to the 2-0.
Yeah, both AD carries opting for the Blade of the Ruined King build, not surprising with how ridiculous that item is right now. Means we are 100% seeing the on-hit oriented Varus, and probably a delayed couple of crit items for X-Craze, but he also might just throw back to the the old Lucian build and just pick up Black Cleaver, mostly to deal with UNSC and Chimmy.
Alright, Rift Herald's going to be summoned in the bottom side of the map with CFLOW looking to break this tower and hopefully get Skylar, Toon, and Kilgar out of this lane that they've been having so much trouble in. They'll get that, but in return, X-Craze and Mark Hames getting a lot of damage down on this mid turret, and that might be a point they can play through. Smooths just goes in and shuffles UNSC away. The Rift Herald actually does collapse into that second tower, and now X-Craze and Mark Hames on the runaway as Chimmy looking to collapse. They'll pull him in. X-Craze taken low. They'll get the root down from the final chapter, plus the culling comes through, and OG the Arbiter will throw a rock at him to ward him away. So escape from the bottom lane of Pigs.
Yeah, and they don't even have to blow X-Craze's flash. That's wild to me. The Yumi effect, as it were, but they are chunked out pretty heavily, and they don't have priority on Dragon anymore. This would be the lead up to Soul Point for the side of CFLOW.
Yep, Dragon spawning here in 5 seconds. It looks like CFLOW has the much better setup. The vision just pouring into the Pigs' blue side jungle, and this shouldn't even be contestable for them. So that'll put CFLOW on Soul Point, and in 5 minutes we'll see if they can collect on their work so far in the game.
Yeah, that is an absolute setup for Dragon. All 5 control wards down, plus a couple extras alongside the Scuttle Crab.
And Arbiter will be able to probably take down this top tower in response, although Jimmy's headed up there and he's going to abandon. So just a little bit of damage done. That'll go down below 1,000 at least, so they have that opportunity to collect that gold later on, I guess.
I think that's the correct call. At this point in the game, I'm fairly confident Jimmy could run down OG the Arbiter, regardless of all opposition.
Yeah, I do like seeing the Bramble Vests come through. Rembones and OG the Arbiter both picking that up to try to reduce the healing that Chimmy and even Kilgar will be doing in these fights.
Yeah, interestingly enough, with the Mundo on one side and the Yumi on the other, only one of these teams has purchased 3 different forms of anti-healing and 0 forms of anti-healing on the other side. Kind of interesting call into Yumi specifically.
Yeah, and also kind of interesting.
Come back to fight them.
Yeah, also kind of interesting. It feels like this game has been just super in favor of CFLOW, but the gold lead is actually just even because of the amount of farm that has been going into all of these laners for Pigs.
Yeah, I think at this point the consistency of 2 games in a row has in most lanes has kind of sealed it for me. CFLOW is literally just getting out CS'd. And that's what's keeping the gold close in this game. That's what was primarily giving the early to mid game advantage for Pigs in the last game.
Yeah, and Chimmy even able to flex his muscles just a little bit. He'll take down that tower and flip the gold to about 1k in favor of CFLOW currently. Baron, the only objective up for another almost 3 minutes. So we'll hit this lull state for just a little bit where these waves just kind of bounce, I imagine. But all of these summoner spells coming back up. I think the last one will be Markheim's heal that he's got on his Yuumi. And what if we do just have a straight 5v5 over the Baron or over this Infernal Soul? Who do you think that favors currently?
I think at the moment it favors CFLOW. If at any point there are more than 2 or 3 champions in close enough vicinity for Kilgar or Bon Voyage's ultimates to be effective, and Jarvan is really good at making sure that happens, it's going to be really difficult for the follow-up damage to matter a lot for the side of Pigs. I think they would have to be the ones initiating. I think whichever team initiates is probably going to be the one that wins.
Yeah, we did see Skylar Toon get chunked just a little bit by the culling and forced him back to base, but now headed back out onto the map, has his Spooky Ghost available with his Glacial Augment, so hopefully he'll be able to check a little bit more safely now.
Yeah, and we're kind of at this point in the game where there's a little bit of a stalemate. Neither team feels confident enough to go for Baron, but Dragon isn't up. So they're mostly just clearing waves. The vision at the moment is kind of split horizontally across the map. The topside vision for Pigs is really good, but their bot side jungle has a lot of deep vision in it from the side of CFLOW.
Again, also kind of interesting, they have the Azir actually up matching Dr. Mundo on the top side. Both of them have teleport, so it's not like that's the significant advantage, but they feel like Azir is safer against the Dr. Mundo than the Gnar at the current moment.
Yeah, until OG the Arbiter finishes his bot arc, I kind of agree with that decision. Actually, it might be, even after the bot arc comes through, it might be the correct decision. There isn't really a world in which either of them get a solo kill on Chimmy, but I think Smooths has a much lower chance of dying.
Yeah, and now with the dragon about to spawn, we do need to see Pigs really get any foothold on this side of the map. It feels like they're a little bit late to this rotation with 5 seconds to go on that spawn. Rembone's OG the Arbiter trying to sweep out some vision, but already with the sweeper down, that means that they've got no sweepers available. They're going to be blind checking in on this dragon now. 3,000 health on it. It'll go down. Oh, Rembones jumps in. He almost gets that smite, but it will fall in favor of CFLOW. Now the fight breaks out. Big shuffle back onto Bon Voyage as they're trying just to set these battle lines and get it front to back. But Bon Voyage running over the fight. Kilgar will finish up one on the backside. It's the double kill as Chimmy just walks through the fight intimidatingly on the Dr. Mundo. It's 3 for 0 in favor of CFLOW.
And that's part of what I was talking about with the grouping effect. Being all in that choke point at the entrance to the jungle, they had a really nice disengage from Smooth's ult, but the amount of damage that was done by Bon Voyage and UNSC in the backline over the top means that the fight is basically over at that point. Any kills picked up would be for the side of CFLOW, and they would just be bonuses at that point since they already got the Infernal Soul and are going to pick up this Baron.
I don't know why the epic monsters dying is so loud. That was really uncomfortable, but they will take down the Infernal Soul. They'll take down the Baron, and it feels like we're in kind of the flip situation of last game, where now both of those solo lanes are very strong for CFLOW. Do you want to see them 1-3-1 out with this Baron?
Yes, absolutely. I think the 1-3-1 effectiveness of Mundo at this point in the game, especially with his scoreline, is kind of unmatched, and it isn't like it's difficult to 1-3-1 as either UNSC or Bon Voyage and leave the other as the third in the mid lane.
Yeah, if there is a hope, it feels like we need to see X-Crazer Smooths just have the fight of their life, and the front line just isn't strong enough to match the front line of CFLOW in these fights. So we'll need to see either a really creative pick or, you know, maybe just X-Craze completely smurfing on a fight, but Chimmy's just going to ignore Smooths as he walks up to the turret and takes that one in the bottom lane. Mid lane will fall as well here in a second as Kilgar starts pelting it with some arrows.
Yeah, there is basically nothing on the map at this point that Chimmy has to worry about, barring like 3 or more people coming to his lane uncontested.
Yeah, it feels like the 3 soldiers stacked up tickle him for a little bit. But CFLOW really just having their way with the map. They've ballooned that gold lead. They're snowballing very well with this Baron power play, and we'll see where they end up with everything. But for now, eyes on cracking the base, and just kind of set up. It's sort of a 1-3-1. I guess now they're committing to it with Diana. She wasn't just flanking toward that top side of the map. But
We'll
Chimmy
take
the only
the
one with
3-1-1
teleport. But sorry.
You're good. I didn't know what to do.
Chimmy's the only one with teleport, but he's actually calling 2 people over to him as Rumbones and Smooths, both in the area to try to help clear.
Yeah, and at this point, I think if you're going to give up something, give up one inhibitor and try and allocate people to save the other 2, or you just call a particular lane that you want to engage on and you commit to it. But so far they're doing a pretty decent job of wave clearing. Chimmy will pop that ultimate and run it out as the tower falls.
Yeah, inhibitor in mid going to be cracked, as well as that inhibitor turret in bottom lane. Chimmy gets shoved away by the Emperor's Divide as UNSC and Bon Voyage collapse on this top lane. X-Ray is going to go ahead and cull through. It's a good chunk of damage, but they do have that one Ocean Dragon to help regen. As Chimmy gets maybe collapsed on, they're going to pull him back in, but the Jarvan Jacuzzi will catch 4. UNSC going to get the Chrono Shift as Bon Voyage dives in. The big chunk of damage, the double kill for the Diana is Chimmy chasing down X-Craze. That'll finish him off, and that'll finish off the game as well. Really nicely played fight by UNSC and Bon Voyage.
Yeah, and for the base defense, it feels like Pigs just spread themselves too thin. They needed to either pick a particular lane or 2 lanes that they were going to defend. Trying to match the overall power of CFLOW in all 3 lanes just wasn't going to work out. And then the ending attempted pick onto Chimmy, you couldn't have picked a worse target.
Yeah, so that'll do it for game number 2. We're tied at 1-1. I'll find some silver scrapes for us to play in between games. But we'll go into game 3 here in just a second. Don't go anywhere. CFLOW versus Pigs tied at 1. Do you have our fake game 3 or game 2 loaded up?
It is finishing loading now. I am just in the process of wrapping up a move, so I'm actually casting from my laptop at the moment.
Okay. Oh, good. There's
Okay.
a 10-hour smooth loop version of Silver Scrapes. That's what I really need.
Beautiful.
All right, so welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 3, our deciding game of our final quarterfinal. This will determine who joins GEL, PTG, and Sensei Squad in our semifinals, and also determines the matchups based on the seeding. I'm not going to claim to know which seeds are which, so we'll just pretend like I know what I'm doing. Anyway, let's head into game 3. I'm pretty excited to see who takes this home. If you're ready, we'll start.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 3, 2, 1, and go. And on the bottom side of the rift, wearing the blue health bars for the third game in a row, will be Cosmic Flow in the top side, Chimmy playing Poppy, UNSC in the jungle on Sejuani, Bomb Voyage in mid on Oriana, and Kilgar and Skylar Toon on Senna and Galio.
And over on the red side for the third game, the Pigs Might Fly, OG the Arbiter up the top lane playing Shen, Rembones in the jungle on Zac, Smooths in the mid lane playing Nico, and X-Craze and Mark Hames in the bot lane playing Misfortune and Tom Kench.
So again, a lot of draft adaptation. We're not seeing very similar champions come through. Rembone's back on the Zac, and I believe that's it. Again, for champions they've even played at all this series.
Right, we will see the return of Misfortune, this time on X-Craze. I expected, I expect in the draft at some point they picked Senna, and Pigs decided they would take away the Senna Tom Kench lane specifically, so that's why we see those particular champion combinations. I like seeing Poppy into Zac pretty much always. It also just doesn't do that poorly into Shen, so it's a fine top lane matchup there.
Yeah, it feels like CFLOW's maybe a little bit low damage is kind of what I'd worry about. Uh, Kilgar will be going, it looks like, the farming Senna with the Doran's Blade, so a little bit more pop to those autos, but it's still not the highest damage 80 carry. And then Oriana, not the most like devastating mid laner as well.
Not particularly. There will be a lot of ambient damage that doesn't look amazing on paper coming in from Skylar Toon and UNSC, but especially in the early to mid game, that will be effective. We'll have to see how well the lanes play out, because if the lanes get behind for CFLOW, they are definitely going to be lacking damage in the mid game.
Yeah, and also interesting is we could even kind of say the same thing about Pigs with their Nico and Misfortune combo. They're very strong mid-game champions, but basically lack that pop in the late game, and we'll have to see which tanks, I guess, get ahead, I think, is what's going to determine how these fights really look.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, especially since Smooths has opted for the Glacial Augment Nico. It is the more popular of the two, although I don't like the Keystone personally. I recognize that it's probably a better option. It does make Nico hit not quite as hard as something like an Electrocute would.
Yeah, and I imagine we'll see the same story that we've seen the last couple of games with both junglers being fairly passive here early, especially on the Sejuani and Zac, not the most aggressive early champions.
Yeah, and both teams have kind of set themselves up to farm into their respective power spikes. There isn't any there isn't any ridiculous clock that either team has put themselves on, or necessity of getting ahead in the early game. So it is likely that we'll see a lot of map and objective based play.
Yep, but for now, a little bit boring of an early game for us, unfortunately. And I think that favors pigs pretty heavily because we've seen the ability of all of their lanes to just out farm their opponents, and if you can get just that little spike early, maybe that's the difference that you need in this matchup.
Yeah, I am a little surprised to see CFLOW opt for a less aggressive start because despite the winning farm lanes for pigs in the last game, they definitely went down 0-4 into dragons and got the game ended on them in pretty non-exciting fashion actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt like once CFLOW had that significant advantage in the game, they were able to snowball it out pretty well. Kind of interesting, both junglers walking through each other's red sides, and Grimbones will actually steal away the Krugs on this first rotation, although it looks like UNSC has a little bit more in mind as he's looking for a gank on OG the Arbiter. Hits him with the knockback. They'll put him into the Poppy Cage. They don't actually have the damage really. Oh, the taunt comes through. OG the Arbiter doesn't burn his flash, but it's first blood for UNSC in the top lane. The extra damage from the Sejuani passive coming through as now Grimbones flies in. They'll slap Kilgar back in and teleports being channeled. There's actually two coming in from CFLOW as they're really looking to collapse. Chimmy doesn't get the stun onto Rembones, but he'll knock him into the passive. Okay, there's one more auto. X-Craze and Mark Hames looking to play a little bit more around this as another teleport comes through. Big taunt lands as Skylar Toon forced to flash away as he falls. Big fight here in the bottom lane now as Kilgar gets knocked up by Rembones after he revives. Mark Hames takes down Chimmy, and it gets turned off of the teleport by OG the Arbiter.
I am racking my brain right now trying to figure out what exactly happened to Bon Voyage's teleport, because they should have had a massive man advantage that just didn't come through, and it resulted in a relatively fine trade for pigs in the bot lane.
I would imagine he got hit by the Tangle Barbs? No, that's Zyra. Whatever the E is on Nico, I imagine came through and actually knocked him out of that teleport. I didn't see exactly where he was standing when that happened, but that would be the only thing that could have happened to him.
Yeah, that doesn't quite work out the way CFLOW wanted it to. It was a really nice initial gank from Rimbones, knowing that UNSC had just hit top lane, and the reaction from CFLOW was really fast actually. Both teleports coming in immediately, just weren't able to pick up as much off of the back of it as they wanted to.
Yeah, and I think the big moment was OG the Arbiter teleporting down onto the Zac Bloblet that allowed both the Shen to come into the fight as well as allowed Rembones to get that safe revive off. And that doesn't make any sense, but CFLOW takes the dragon.
Yeah, trends continue after a win in the bot lane fight. They abandon the bot area of the map, and CFLOW takes dragon with 0 contest.
Yeah, so they'll start that ball rolling. Are down a kill now, and it feels like they're being a little bit more pressured this game than they were last, and we'll see if CFLOW can continue making those positive map plays, especially with Herald about to spawn here.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. I don't see how that makes any sense in terms of a map play decision, but it has been happening consistently throughout this series, so I have to assume it's by some sort of design.
Yeah, so again, small farm leads pretty much across, well, I guess not across the board, it's just X-Craze up on Kilgar in that bottom side. He's very strong in this Misfortune now with his BF sword compared to the pickaxe mana crystal on Kilgar. Well, he has the fairy charm too, don't want to negate the mana regen, but...
yeah, and just in general early, until you get some of those stacks, especially on Glacial Augment variation of Senna, which has become the absolute go-to even when she is swapped into the supporting role.
Bon Voyage going to get hit by the knockup into the Pop Blossom, and Bon Voyage will go down to Smooths. So a nice gank from Rembones as he found an angle that looked like had the pink ward in it, and they'll get a clean kill in the mid lane.
Kind of surprised there that Bon Voyage opted to burn flash after getting caught by all of the CC. If you're going to flash there, you 100% want to flash the elastic slingshot specifically, or if you can't and they don't layer the CC correctly, you want to flash the root from Nico.
So, and this is what we were kind of alluding to. I think even with that mid gank, that's all they needed to go ahead and take the Rift Herald. But instead of opting not to take the neutral objective, they'll go back into their jungle and just farm it out. It seems kind of weird that pigs just aren't pressing their advantage as hard as they maybe should.
Yeah, they get options that they can capitalize on and then actively choose not to capitalize on them. So it feels like it makes them have to work much harder later on when they do decide they want those objectives.
But as it is, blue will be handed off to Smooths as he heads over the wall as Nico. He'll head back into mid lane, having his lost chapter completed. Really doesn't have a significant advantage. He's actually down, in quotation marks, on items comparatively because the boots have been finished by Bon Voyage now. But he also hasn't been back to base, I think, since that kill. Yeah, he's got 1,500. I'm just talking myself in circles here.
Yeah, and as Orianna, who has played this matchup before, the lane isn't particularly annoying, but a well piloted Nico does get really difficult to kill, even with ganks coming through.
Abyssal Voyage comes out as Markhames and Rembones head toward this top side. They're maybe looking to collapse on the Rift Herald. And UNSC gets spotted. It's down to 3,000. Jump in from Rembones, but he'll get sent back to base by the Keeper's Verdict from Chimmy. Smooths gets saved. That was a really good devour by Markhames, but now the fight's starting to turn off of the Glacial Prison. Rembones is back in, but the Rift Herald will be taken by Cosmic Flow. And again, the overall map objective just going the way of CFLOW, despite what feels like the better run of play for Pigs.
Yeah, a highlight of that fight would definitely be Chimmy coming in and pinning Smooths to the wall. He forces out the Devour. A lot of over AoE damage and ambient damage comes through onto Pigs, and they decide they cannot force the...
but now Rembones is here. He'll knock back in Bomb Voyage. The Pop Blossom hits too, and... oh, the Galio ult! The little bit of magic shield comes through. Skylar Toon saves him for just a little bit, but now with the Stand United coming back the other way, OG the Arbiter will take one down. The Ignite will finish off Smooths, but these kills maybe not onto the best target as OG the Arbiter, and Rembones will take down Skylar Toon. The double kill for the Shen.
Yeah, the Galio ultimate coming through, delaying the fight a little bit, does allow them to pick up one on the backside. It will be 2-for-1 for Pigs, but they successfully stuff out the Rift Herald push, which is the more important factor in my opinion.
Yeah, they got 2 plates off of the back of that, but not any more, and it probably wasn't onto the correct members. I didn't see exactly where that gold went. Markhames checking in a little bit for vision as UNSC finds him. It'll force the cleanse out of the top Kench.
Yeah, and that actually is a really important cooldown, given that Tom Kench is X-Craze and Smooth's way out of the, frankly, concerning amount of lockdown capable for the side of CFLOW.
And now CFLOW going to set up again for this dragon. That cleanse being forced, I guess, is going to be the catalyst as Rembones and Markhames head back from the base. They have the Abyssal Voyage available if they really want to fly into this fight, but the dragon's already going to be dead. That's 2 now on the stack of CFLOW.
Yeah, and in terms of objective control, CFLOW has just had everything this game.
UNSC interrupts the jump from Rembones. They'll catch him here. Markhames and X-Craze both looking to collapse. They'll get the Devour off as UNSC gets taken low. The bullet time just tearing through, but it'll force the flash over the wall. Now Smooths has tracked down Kilgar on the backside, but the flash out from Kilgar is good. Nobody's died just yet, although Skylar Toon may be in a little bit of trouble as he punches the wall. He will get out safely. Also worth noting, as the result of this, we have the Therapy Rift. So we'll get chill lo-fi beats to farm and gank lanes too.
Yeah, this is one of my personal favorites. I think it actually favors both teams here, considering that we have established that both of them would like to be passive, would like to farm out. It definitely helps with staying alive in the mid game and being allowed to stay in lanes longer. And there on display in that bot lane, or in that bottom jungle interaction, we saw kind of the lack of damage that we mentioned CFLOW had in most other team comps. That is a 100% dead Zac there.
Yep, and he'll even still keep his passive, so he can look to be aggressive. Nice knockback by Skylar Tuna, actually, just preventing that engage from Rembones, and that gets stuffed immediately as Smooths teleports in. Chimmy's looking for OG the Arbiter just to make sure that he can't go in with the teleporter. They stand united, but it might cost him just a little bit here as Skylar Tuna flies in just to try to clear the minions. But that Justice Punch from Skylar Tune just stuffed the engagement from Rembones.
Yeah, absolutely. Skylar Toon doing his best impression of Dikembe Mutombo right there.
I appreciate the reference. I don't know how many others will follow along with that one, but
Well, we'll see how universal it is, depending on how active Twitch chat wants to be. But I had to remind myself of who was trying to reference there. It's a little early in the morning for me at the moment.
yeah, like 2:30.
I don't want to talk about it.
That's fair. All right, blue being handed over to Smooths as we look to get back on the map. It's a 6-2 kill advantage and a small gold advantage right now for Pigs Might Fly, but CFLOW has the 2-dragon advantage currently with 2 minutes left on that dragon timer. Smooths looking to clear out mid lane and kind of a roam up by Skylar Toon, maybe looking to see if they can capitalize on Smooths, but nothing aggressive really happening across the map currently.
Yeah, and notably with the exception of bot lane, the farm is a lot closer in this game from CFLOW's solo laners.
UNSC flies in. I don't actually know if that is the real Nico. Okay, Bomb Voyage will pick him up as Rembone's now in a little bit of trouble. He'll Let's Bounce to try to get out to safety, get stunned up under the tower. UNSC can't tank that for too long. The Stand United actually comes through for the shield, but Chimmy's overcommitted just a little bit as he's forced to flash over the wall after interrupting the Shen ultimate.
Yeah, gets the interrupt down on the Shen ultimate. That was a really nice buffered Sejuani ult from UNSC for that pick in the mid lane. Smooths will go down. That alleviates some pressure that they would have had on the map. There aren't any major objectives, but the fact that Bomb Voyage gets to finish out the rest of that wave and back and get a little bit more minion damage down on the mid tower. It's actually getting really low here for the side of Pigs.
Yeah, and that feels like a big objective. If they can crack that, they could start getting some deep vision. And because you have so many tanks in this game, either team can set up for Baron relatively easily. None of them do it particularly quickly, but you can just sit there and tank it for a long time, and that is worthwhile. It looks like it'll be the second Herald in the eyes of CFLOW, but Pigs is on the case. They've spotted Chimmy and UNSC out doing this. Teleport coming through. That'll be OG the Arbiter looking to join as Keeper's Verdict gets channeled up. Chimmy whiffs on that one. About 4,000 health, but the Rift Herald will reset. We're going to look to draw some battle lines here as X-Craze is forced off to the top part of this map. Kilgar is late to rejoin this fight as he's headed up, just finally getting into that little banana corridor. As now CFLOW has leashed the Rift Herald back off. Pigs recollapse. They have what feels like a small vision advantage. They have the better damage right now, but they're going to trade mid-tower for this, it looks like, is the call from CFLOW. So second Herald will fall in favor of Pigs, but that mid-tower in favor of CFLOW, a worthwhile trade.
Yeah, and we'll see if Mark Hames actually expends the ult to get the pinch potentially on this dragon, because CFLOW has the inside track.
Yeah, CFLOW has the inside track. Again, doesn't have the huge amount of damage to just rush this down as UNSC, it's still at about 4,000 now as Zac jumps in. Bullet time comes through, but doesn't really have much effect, although Kilgar is just pinched on this wall, as is Bomb Voyage. The two carries down, a double kill for Smooths as Chimmy just fighting in this pit. Rembones gets taken pretty low. The stopwatch from Chimmy not going to matter. Sejuani comes over the wall. The smite not in time as Rembones secures it, and that feels like the dagger that Pigs needed to try to take a big lead in this game.
Yeah, that was really painful to watch on a lot of fronts. UNSC, I think he missed smite by a double-digit number. I didn't see exactly what that number was. And then as a former /current/recovering Oriana main, watching Bon Voyage with all members of Pigs there in the dead center, the ultimate field goal, was really unfortunate there for them.
Yeah, and that fight was just so chaotic. It felt like neither side really, or not neither side, but CFLOW couldn't decide if they wanted to stay on the dragon or if they needed to peel out of there immediately. And the two carries peeled out toward the bottom side of that dragon and got caught by the Pop Blossom from Smooths.
Yeah, and Twitch chat brings up a good point. I'm kind of surprised that they opted to take the mid tower there as it was already so low instead of just giving up the Drake and going straight to the dragon. They actually end up giving over both neutral objectives and 4 kills to the side of Pigs. It's a massive advantage to hand a team that has an arguably equivalent scaling advantage as you do.
Yep, now pressure here from Kilgar and Skylartoon on the bottom tower. That tower is still very healthy, so they're not going to get a whole lot done here. Thank you, Directed Camera, for making that much more intense than it had any right to be. And now with this strong advantage into mid-game, how do you want to see Pigs start to snowball this?
I think they're off to a decent start right now, moving X-Rays into a lane where he can comfortably farm without really any worry of getting collapsed on or ganked. They're actually looking for something on the Chimmy here.
Yeah, OG the Arbiter gets engaged on by Skylartoon and Kilgar. This feels like a really bad mismatch in this lane. Shen has wave clear available with the Titanic Hydra plus the Bomby Cinder. He can happily collect these waves under tower or just outside of tower range, and Kilgar and Skylartoon don't shove super hard. Unless you start expending some of those Galio abilities into the wave.
Yeah, not only do they not shove super hard, they have basically no chance of killing OG the Arbiter at this point in the game, even if it is both of them on him.
Chimmy getting collapsed on Keeper's Verdict, gonna send Tom Kench away, but the re-engage from Rembones as Smooth takes the tower. Really clean collapse there as they take down the Poppy. And just the difference in tankiness between this Poppy and the Dr. Mundo we saw last game allows this play to happen.
Yeah, and that and the fact that this play is born entirely out of a lack of vision from the side of CFLOW. They had no clue that that many members of Pigs were up there and capable of a dive. And the waves are not advantageous for them at this point either, so it's very difficult for them to go and get the vision that they were lacking on that play.
Alright, with Baron spawned, it does feel like Pigs have much more damage to contribute into this, even not considering their lead currently with the Senna on one side compared to the Misfortune damage on the Baron. So it feels like if they can get control of this Baron area, they're much more dangerous to take it.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult to call because there was a Misfortune on one side of the fight and an Oriana on the other, but I do think the Wombo combo mid-team fight does actually favor CFLOW with the number of large AoE CC abilities that can come across the top. So if they do get a good initiation, I don't know how much this gold lead is going to matter, especially with the lack of heavy carry damage on either team.
Yeah, CFLOW will pick up this top lane tower for free, so that's something in their back pocket. But now you have another dragon spawning in 45. You already have Markhames getting vision down. You have Kilgar gonna die in the bottom lane as X-Craze finds the solo kill. 80 carry v 80 carry.
This is just a CFLOW carry special, is flashing away from the last auto that's already following you. We saw Bon Voyage do it earlier in the mid lane, and now Kilgar does it. There is basically no argument any longer about which has a better mid-game carry potential in this game. X-Craze is up 3 kills and a hefty amount of gold. Not necessarily finished items, but the Senna build is a lot cheaper.
Yeah, and CFLOW even continuing to stay around. This would be dragon number 3 if they can secure it. So not even like the significant soul advantage. This would just put them to soul point. So I don't know how much they want to commit or what they really want to do here. OG the Arbiter's off on the top side of the map. Chimmy with a good attempt there onto Smooths, but the Devour now used from Markhames. That'll be down for about 20 seconds. as CFLOW looking to pressure in. They have all 5 here as Kilgar's respawn.
And it seems like that's just a big enough window uh, for them to get the priority.
Yeah, Chimmy's
But
still
OG
looking
the
for this
Arbiter,
engage. Flash forward from Bon Voyage as he's looking for a good opportunity for that Orianna ult. Instead, he gets jumped on. Kilgar gonna go down the Galio ult, trying to save Bon Voyage in the middle of this. Just a lot of circles being drawn on the map now as the damage all comes through. It's 2 kills for Smooth. Skylar Toon will go down as well. X-Craze is on a rampage. UNSC and Chimmy, the 2 members left of Cosmic Flow at the end of that fight.
yeah,
And
and I think you called it maybe just less than 2 minutes into the game, but the lack of damage for the side of CFLOW is really starting to hurt them. It just takes so long for any of the members who get caught by abilities to die on the side of Pigs that they get to go through multiple spell rotations, specifically on the Nico, who was putting out probably the most amount of damage in that fight, or possibly X-Grays. I didn't see exactly how many auto attacks he was able to get off.
But yeah, it feels like that one big moment is the shockwave from Orianna, and if we're not seeing that hit just big meaty targets like 3-4 members routinely, I just don't know where that damage is coming from Cosmic Flow.
Yeah, in that scenario, Bon Voyage actually has to use the shockwave defensively as they get collapsed on, and he uses it so late into the fight that it doesn't really feel like it stops anybody in their tracks. I mean, it's kind of just a mild annoyance.
Yeah, and that felt super weird. That auto attack from Bon Voyage actually killed the blue buff inside Tom Kench's stomach. Interesting.
I think it was because of the Airy.
Because of the summon Airy? Okay.
Yeah.
I could buy that.
That sounds like the most intelligent caster call I can make without actually noticing the interaction that you're talking about.
So now Pig's in a very strong position. They're looking to set up some whatever lanes they want to. They're maybe baiting for Chimmy now. I don't think they're going to find him though. He's just going to head back at Missing Vision. And now it just feels like the onus is really on CFLOW to make a play. Like, they need to find an individual pick, and even then I don't know that they have enough damage to successfully kill anybody outside of maybe Smooth or X-Craze.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be some individual moment of brilliance for CFLOW, or a really nice setup play onto someone, but Smooth is really difficult to catch, especially now that he has finished the Zanya's Hourglass and has 2 forms of Glacial Augment Slow. Really, your target is X-Craze, whose positioning has been on point this entire series.
Yeah, and even then he's usually had Tom Kench at his side for that Devour, so that's a tough target to pick in the best of times. OG the Arbiter just continuing to push in. It's Kilgar versus OG the Arbiter, which is a super weird solo lane matchup, I guess.
I think the best case scenario actually for CFLOW, if they weren't going to do this realistically, would be to use the Keeper's Verdict to knock Markhames away from X-Grays and try to pick him that way so that the Tom Kench can no longer save the ADC, because X-Grays does not have flash at the moment. It's down for at least a little bit more time.
And this
That's
setup,
really hard to pull off.
yeah, and this setup, it looks like CFLOW's planning so much on this setup, but X-Craze and Markhames just sniff that one out. They don't engage onto that minion wave, they don't engage onto that tower, and they'll walk away safely. Just that little moment, there was the tension building. You thought CFLOW might be able to pull a pick, and nope. Really nicely played. I don't know what vision they had or what instinct they had, but X-Craze and Markhames had that in the back of their head.
Yeah, they realize that there isn't any pressure on them to be super proactive at this point in the game. They continue scaling just fine. Both of their carries are massive in terms of the scope of the game and how much damage everyone is capable of doing.
Yeah, and there's still 2 dragons away. We'll have that one spawn in about a minute. I don't believe that we'll see CFLOW try to contest that. And that'll put them on Soul Point, and that'll force 5 minutes after that. So at about 33 minutes, we'll see something will have to happen in this game. But until then,
Until then, we get a lot more of this. This being a lot of wave clear and UNSC and Bon Voyage roaming around, looking for any kind of opening. And as long as pigs don't give it to them, they should remain in control of this game. They just don't really get outscaled by the comp CFLOW has put together.
So then how are you doing, Oath? How are you looking forward to your semifinal next weekend?
I am actually. I think it'll be a really good game. I'm looking forward in the short term to having my PC set up and being able to practice for my semifinal next weekend. It's been a very arduous moving process because it won't stop raining here in Florida.
So CFLOW actually going to try to match this. They're looking like they want to scrap over this dragon that essentially doesn't mean a whole lot to either team. And I'm kind of curious about that. They're going to drop a wave in top lane and perhaps that tower as OG the Arbiter just going to continue pushing in. Chimmy on his way to try to collapse on that. But no pressure right now on Pigs to even start up this dragon. They'll take that tower as we'll have the top laners scrap a little bit, at least exchange a couple of abilities, and now Pigs will move back in, having successfully stalled for that tower take.
Yeah, barring what we've already mentioned a couple different times, a really nice Orianna ultimate, I don't see this going CFLOW's way. They don't have the vision or the priority. That is a little bit of damage over the top to Rembones and Markhames respectively.
Yeah, I just don't even know that a steal is worth the investment at this point. They'll find Smooth on the side. UNSC just tries to hard commit for the steal. He's forcing X-Craze and Markhames back out of the fight, but Zac has set the battle lines on the other side. Neither top laner can join as they're engaged in combat as Kilgar gets jumped on. Smooth will take him down. Smooth is unstoppable. Bon Voyage forced to flash. He'll get hit by the Q from Zac and get destroyed by that, and now Skylar Toon in a lot of trouble as the Abyssal Voyage comes in to cut off his retreat, and Skylar Toon will fall. It's just who gets the kill at this point. It'll be X-Craze as he's dominating, and the two top laners have retreated to their other side. Chimmy has expended all of his mana to try to kill OG the Arbiter and has done about a quarter of his health.
Yeah, it's easy to criticize some of the smaller mistakes that happened during that fight, like UNSC popping Stoneplate too early, or Bon Voyage not landing the shockwave of a lifetime. But really, the criticism in my mind goes to why are you making that play?
Yeah, I don't think that even if they get that dragon, that it's worth it, and I don't think they want to fight at that point. They need to just continue to try to scale and find their moment. But
the state of the game doesn't really change if you do get that dragon, but the state of the game changes if pigs are able to pick up an uncontested Baron off of the back of a bad dragon fight.
Yeah, as we see, they will get warded off. The teleport from Bon Voyage into the Tribush actually might have been the tipping point, but instead they're still just going to pressure down. It's 19-3 in kills, and pigs are just in control. I am actually kind of curious, since it's mentioned in the chat. We're at 43 souls right now for Senna at 31 minutes.
Oh, no. There is something to be said for the precedent being set of how good non-farming Senna is at collecting souls, but even for farming Senna, that number is painfully low. And I mean, we could revisit the point that as the game grows later and later, the CS discrepancies are getting worse and worse for the important members of CFLOW versus their respective counterparts. But in a game like this with these type of team comps, that doesn't quite matter as much as the way you're playing the matchup, and the lack of damage on CFLOW means they need to take fights that are advantageous, at least specifically on the number of people who are able to join. And when you're playing into Shen and Tom Kench, there is no limit on the number of champions who can join.
Yeah, I really like the way that OG the Arbiter has actually been playing out this game so far. He's got the wit's end now, so Poppy just can't fight him in this side lane without risking having all of her magic damage stolen and getting just popped in the 1v1. And I think that that's ultimately the tipping point now, that he really can't be stopped in the side lane now.
Yeah, and when Shin can't be stopped in the side lane and has ult and TP available, the number of options you have as CFLOW at this point become really bleak. You kind of have to go for this, which is what they're doing. This dance around the Baron, and pigs are playing it so smart too, because as soon as the teleport comes through, Chimmy is now up here. He has to recall to go match OG the Arbiter again, and as soon as he does that, pigs walk back in and take vision. They're actually going to force onto them because of that.
Yeah, Skylar Toon gets collapsed on. Kilgar is going to be the first one to fall in this fight, I imagine, as he'll get caught by the Pop Blossom. Rembones has taken him down. Chimmy's back in the bottom lane and not even able to help his team in any way. As the fight continues, Smooths is now dominating as he takes out Oriana, and they're just focusing one target at a time. Clean team fighting from Pigs Might Fly. The double kill for X-Craze at the end of that. That'll be the Baron as well, and OG the Arbiter can walk in and take that tower basically on the next wave.
Yeah, he really can. And X-Craze, the original target of that force, did not drop below, I think, 1800 health that whole time. So it's just, it's the kind of thing where you look at both team comps and you kind of know how the game could end up if it isn't played really to perfection by CFLOW in the early game, and this is the result of that. They didn't even necessarily get out macroed that hard until the last 3 dragons specifically, and at that point you start seeing the comp discrepancies and the fact that X-Craze just never died, and so he never had any pressure put onto him to the point where that misfortune couldn't stop growing.
Yeah, and we were even talking in the intro about which tanks got ahead. Well, it's the Zac and the Shen. Spoiler. The Leandry's Torment now finished on Rembones, just going to be the insult to injury. Just such a fun, great item. UNSC goes in for the steal. He's not going to get it. And that'll be Ocean Soul going the way of Pigs. That'll be 2 kills going the way of Pigs as well. And that should be the game in favor of Pigs as they run down whatever lane they so choose.
Yeah, they can kind of pick whatever lane they want. The wave clear coming out from Bon Voyage and Skylar Toon, the limited amount of wave clear that Kilgar has will not be enough for Baroned up minions, and will certainly not be enough for the 5 alive champions on the side of pigs.
Yep.
And
Ramon's
this
gonna
like
engage the kind of victory lap here in the base as X-Craze uses the stopwatch to avoid the Senna ult and cancel his own ult in the process. Nexus turrets fall 25-3 as Pigs take home their quarterfinal victory. They'll be in the semifinals next weekend. It should be fun. I'll be sitting here at the casting desk for next weekend, and I know that you'll be playing in the gold semifinal, but some final thoughts on this series?
Final thoughts on the series. Um, I think we mentioned it the entire time during this game, but specifically the draft for 3. It the point I'd like to mention is that it felt so different from the way CFLOW drafted in Game 2. I think Game 2 was all CFLOW, and I think the ending of Game 2 showed it. They didn't drop a single dragon, and they were in control that entire time. And then they drafted Senna with 3 tanks, and that's just kind of the way it goes. Pigs played a fantastic macro game. Their comp worked exactly the way they wanted to, and I think your point about OG the Arbiter and the way he played this game allowed that to really become about as scary as that comp can become.
Yeah, so we'll see Pigs next weekend. The 25th is the semifinals, 26th is the finals and third place games. And I don't know who they're playing. Somebody will announce it, I'm sure, here in a couple minutes. But I'm looking forward to casting some of those games. And yeah, congratulations again to them. And commiserations to Cosmic Flow on the end of their season. They played a really good game number 2. They played pretty solidly in stretches of games 1 and 3, but it wasn't quite enough to take home that victory today.
Yeah, congratulations to Pigs. I'm looking forward to watching what parts of the stream that I get to watch when I'm not playing, and going back and watching the rest of it. So it should be a lot of fun. It's always nice being on cast with you.
Yeah, definitely the same. And thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you here in a week for the semifinals. I don't know, there'll be times posted. Just look at the Discord. Sorry for not being more official, but we'll see you here in a week, and thanks everybody.